Your favorite comfort show is most likely ruining your ability to enjoy anything that you haven't seen before, whether it is a funny and innocent sitcom like Friends, or something more serious like Star Trek The Next Generation. Their danger is something that not a lot of people know about. I only learned about it because when the only thing I had been doing all month was rewatching shows like The Office or The Walking Dead, it put into perspective how narrow my media taste had become. And yes, The Walking Dead is weirdly one of my comfort shows. So why do we rewatch TV shows? In truth, it isn't something that we can really control, because our brains are wired to crave that familiar state we get when watching a show or movie we have seen before. It is a primitive desire, just like the need for food or shelter. Shows and movies are not really necessities, but they activate our emotions just the same. Therefore, their impact is significant. Familiarity is a state which we find desirable because it doesn't feel stressful. It is a nostalgic state, and nostalgia is something that always feels right because it is built on fond memories, which take us back to a better, more stable world. And not only that, but it is also the perfect dopamine loop. Dopamine is often misunderstood as the reward chemical, but actually it is the reward regulation chemical. Essentially, dopamine is what you feel before you do something. It's the excitement you feel before eating a donut or scrolling on your phone. If the action then meets that dopamine excitement threshold, that behavior is heavily rewarded. In the context of comfort television, you know what you are going to get. It's not like the episode you have seen 5 times already is going to be boring. You know it's going to be entertaining and fun, so your dopamine peaks and then that peak is met. Unlike when watching something new, where an episode can be disappointing or the whole show can turn out to be a waste of time. This is what makes rewatching something you've seen before more appealing than something new. Not to mention, you can watch it however you want. There is no pressure to follow the narrative and hear every sentence, because you already know what is happening and what is going to happen next. Therefore, experiencing a story again is something that not only allows you to enjoy it one more time, but it's also something that gives you an extra sense of comfort, which you wouldn't get watching something new, since consuming new media is unpredictable and finite. And yes, it literally is finite, because if you can rewatch a show over and over again, you can interact with it essentially forever. But if you constantly seek out new shows and movies, there's only a limited amount of new content that will make you happy. So why can comfort television be dangerous? I don't think that comfort television is inherently bad, but I think that a lot of people can take it to extremes where it does actually hinder them, because stories are supposed to help you grow. As kids, we learned a lot of morals and ideas through tales like Snow White, The Boy Who Cried Wolf, Winnie the Pooh, and many more. This just goes to show the power and impact of storytelling. Therefore, to dismiss it later in life can only prevent us from growing further. So re-engaging with the same story over and over again doesn't add anything to you as a person. It is pleasant and there's nothing wrong with it, but watching a show for the 5th time doesn't add any more value. This is where your taste in media starts to go away, and not only where television is concerned. Because if your taste in TV becomes flat, that ripples and shows up in everything, like the depth of the conversations you are able to have, for example. Engaging with new stories forces your brain to process new narratives, and it isn't as comfortable as re-engaging with the same stories, and that is the point of it. So in the context of having a conversation, you can't come up with as many analogies as you otherwise would have, or connect abstract ideas as quickly. Watching The Office for the first time opens you up to interpreting characters, story arcs, and ideas the show presents. Sitcoms like The Office aren't exactly the most complicated pieces of media, but watching them still provides you with those benefits of engaging with new stories. But all of those benefits cease once you see it a second or a third time. Granted, seeing a show or a film for a second time can still provide some benefits if you watch it from a different perspective, so maybe on your second watch you pay close attention to one character and truly try to understand their motives, or search for Easter eggs that you might have missed in the first time. So the main reason why comfort television is harmful is that it atrophies your taste in media, so you also start having issues with analyzing what is a good show and what is a bad one. Since if you only watch your favorite shows, you miss out on the unique storytelling of other shows. If you only watch Friends and sitcoms in general, you never get to expand your perspective with something like Pluribus or Star Trek The Next Generation. There is a small exception to this, with deep and truly profound works like Breaking Bad or The Lord of the Rings, where there's just so much to unpack that you cannot truly experience it all in just one watch. This is also why I think popular sitcoms like The Office are so renowned. They manage to have long and complex narratives that make a rewatch more interesting and also valuable. So while there is this one exception, it is only an exception if you rewatch that particular show or film a few times, and it extends to something like annual rewatching, where people routinely engage with their favorite stories. Because since they are not engaging with it in an addictive manner, it isn't really an issue. Going back to the taste, only engaging with your favorite shows creates a kind of cultural lag. You don't recognize many references to shows and films that others might get. While this is not necessarily a big deal, it is something that you wouldn't really want to be an issue. That is, if you actually care about film and cinema. A lot of people don't really care about knowing everything there is to know about every film, show, game, and book, and that is actually a big majority of people. So rewatching Friends for the 10th time may not actually matter if you don't care about anything else, though that in of itself might be an issue, since you should care about more than one or two comfort shows. Because the very platforms on which we watch this content try to predict what we are more willing to watch. So if you watch The Office 10 times, Netflix will think that you really like sitcoms. Therefore, the next time you check your feed, you'll have more sitcoms recommended to you, causing a loop of endless comfort TV that only destroys your taste further and further. This is where time comes into play, because time is something that you cannot get back. Every day goes by, so if you waste it, you cannot unwaste it. Watching comfort television that you are familiar with for an hour is an hour that you could have spent watching something new. Another real issue is parasocial relationships that can arise when you engage with something for a long amount of time. Just like Tom Hanks on Castaway befriending a soccer ball, befriending an inanimate object isn't really that far from being friends with a movie character. And I don't mean it in a weird way, but a lot of people do get attached to characters and start relating to them, almost like they were their friends. And this doesn't only happen to lonely people, but anyone in general. Because anyone will confuse familiarity for true connection. Just like how we feel that we are friends with our childhood home and town, even if it is just an inanimate place that did nothing more to us than simply exist. So when you become familiar with a show and its characters, you become friends with those characters, at least in your mind. This is a connection that amplifies the attachment you have to that particular series and story, making you more likely to revisit it in the future. Okay, so I have made it sound like rewatching your favorite episode of Seinfeld can cause you to go nuts. While there are the downsides I mentioned, if you like to rewatch your favorite shows, that is totally fine and normal. Only that it is better to mix it with something new. By this I mean that for every episode or season of a comfort show, try to see an episode or season of a new show. It's that simple and, quite frankly, very effective, because it still allows you to stick within your comfort zone and explore new narratives and stories. Also try to see something that is fundamentally different. So if you like sitcoms, watch a crime show. I myself used to watch a lot of comfort TV. I'm not proud to admit it, but I have seen The Big Bang Theory like 5 times. Not because it is some grand masterpiece, but because as a show it brings me comfort and it doesn't take as much concentration as more serious shows like Severance, for example. I also obviously developed attachment to the characters of the show, since I find a lot of them to be relatable. And that is why I always make sure to watch something new, because watching a comfort show isn't something that is bad when you make sure to keep engaging with new content. Currently I am watching the classic X-Files, and I try to see at least one old movie per week while reading a chapter of A Song of Ice and Fire a day. So books, movies, shows, and certain video games are an investment into yourself. They allow you to become more fulfilled, and they fill up your internal library of knowledge. Just like how if you want to draw well, you need to draw a lot, and not just the same drawing over and over again. Therefore, comfort television is not a bad thing. In fact, it is one of the good things about life. It gives you a break from reality and a chance to relax. And watching new things definitely takes more energy than revisiting something you are already familiar with. Because for a lot of people, comfort television is mainly there to be something to fall back on and not be yet another experience. And while that is true, you can still relax and wind down by engaging with something new and unique. So that is why you should look out for how much comfort TV you watch. Personally, as I mentioned before, I am no stranger to comfort TV. I find it to be something that keeps life in order, because no matter what, it is always there and it doesn't judge. Though it is that exact reason which makes it so dangerous. It is only comfort, and comfort doesn't lead to growth, but rather just stagnation. I found that the genre of the stories you consume matters a lot. This is why I recommend always trying to see the opposite of what you are familiar with, because if you only consume westerns, then westerns is the only thing that you will know. But if you also interact with sci-fi, then you will have two genres of media in your mental library. Therefore, I myself try to get as much of everything as I can. It's not like good stories are hard to come by nowadays, where you can have books, movies, shows available to you with a press of a button. In the end, watch whatever you like and whatever makes you happy. If you need to binge your comfort show or movie all over again, then do so. But you have to make sure to not let the comfort trap you in your own head. Our mental library is what makes us interesting and unique. If we want to produce great things, we need to consume great things. It's actually that simple. This is why I made this video, because as somebody who makes videos about stories and their worlds, I can never keep it up if I don't constantly seek them out. If I only watch The Walking Dead, then I can only make videos about The Walking Dead and the ideas that are within. If you enjoyed the video, let me know in the comment section down below. I would love to hear what you think about this topic, or maybe you have unanswered questions or suggestions. In any case, check out the channel for more in-depth videos like this. Live long and prosper.